people are very frequently trying to rewrite your story for you. And so when you start telling your story, whether it is to your congressperson, your senator, to your friends on social media, in a book, whatever it is, you are reclaiming that story that is so frequently taken away from you, especially with this disease, and reinstalling the rug that has been ripped out from underneath you, giving you something to stand on, that you are saying, no, I know what is true. I know what the story is. I know what reality is because I'm living in this reality. To me, the heart of advocacy is storytelling. It is opening a window onto your life and letting others see what is actually happening to you. Because one of the things that we struggle with, I think, the most is invisibility.
You know, we look good on the outside, we look fine, we look like we're okay, but on the inside, there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of things going on, and so often it's so hard to explain and hard to communicate what's going on.
Whether it's social media, whether it's a letter to the editor, whether it's telling your story to your congressional representative, whether it's writing a 450-page book about your experience, whatever it is, making the invisible visible is powerful.
Advocacy is basically helping others and also helping lift others' voices up so they can be heard as well.
Advocacy means amplifying the voices of individuals, especially those who go unheard.
Sharing that with people, allowing them access into a world and a life that they would normally have no idea about.
Using your voice or presence to implement changes and solutions to a problem.
It's a way to seek justice and to correct ongoing mistreatments.
To me, advocacy for Emmy means educating doctors, politicians, the general public in understanding what Emmy is and in doctors believing their patients.
It's my job, it's my hobby, it's my life. I eat, drink, breathe, and live advocacy. What that means is turning the world into the world I wish it was. Ensuring that no one is left behind, speaking up for the voiceless who cannot speak up for themselves, and changing the systems that are supposed to be there to help us and prevent them from hurting us.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Now you lay back.
Oh. Yes. Oh.
Advocacy to me is a very personal journey. I got involved in advocacy because of my mother. Even before she got sick, she was an inspiration to me. She was always a bit of a firebrand, always going to protests and speaking up and trying to change the world around her.
What got me involved in my advocacy was my own severe case of COVID, and then talking to other patients who basically stayed at home and had severe symptoms and still have long COVID symptoms now. Basically, a lot of them told me that they're being gaslit.
When I was in the ER and I saw so many people of all walks of life experiencing bias, it really solidified that I should be doing this work, not just for long COVID, but for everyone to have a better experience with healthcare.
There's no hospital that says, here's a pamphlet for how to understand this illness, how to take care of your loved one, how to say the right things. That infrastructure does not exist around these types of illnesses like long COVID, ME/CFS, and the related problems. And so for me, the lack of that infrastructure was so painful.
The way that I felt angry, silenced, and at times even helpless made me realize that I need somewhere to put all those feelings or let out all those feelings, but in a productive way.
When I would kind of try to communicate to people about what issues I was having, it was very difficult for them to understand.
Just kind of seeing how the whole system works. That's what kind of put a spur in my saddle and made me go towards the advocacy route.
I thought to myself, if I get even slightly better, I must educate my colleagues so they can understand their patients better.
And I think it came at exactly the right time, because it was about on the teetering point where you're like, do I give up? Do I give up on this, or what do I do?
As somebody that's been in this community a long time, and I think this is true for any marginalized community that just keeps fighting and keeps pushing, is that eventually you start to see some progress. And I think that that's what we're starting to see now.
I get to organize hundreds of advocates from across the country in leading Solve ME's Advocacy Month, where we bring people and patients and members of the community, researchers and scientists, one-to-one directly into meetings with their members of Congress and their staff.
When I get on the call with all of you, with members of Congress, and I hear those stories, and the members hear those stories, and the staff hear those stories, that they're powerful. And it changes the way that people view ME/CFS, view long COVID, and understand that we need to do more.
To know that behind the policy asks, there are people who are living these experiences. It makes the decision-making process more human.
Telling them what it actually means, not just saying I have ME/CFS, leaving it there, but bringing them into how that has completely destroyed your life. It's very difficult to shut that out, I think. It's very difficult to, when you're in a person-to-person meeting, even if it's on Zoom, to just dismiss that and say, you know, I don't care that this person's life has been destroyed.
I know the very first time I took my mom to Advocacy Month, and she met with her member of Congress, and she was really nervous and uncomfortable because it involved sharing some very personal aspects of her health, personal aspects of our family's finances, personal aspect of our family's journey and our pain. And that is hard, but I think the more you share that pain, the more others help you carry it.
None of us come into the world knowing everything about every problem, and so it takes hearing the actual stories, not just the statistics and things like that, but the actual stories of the lived lives and how horrible they are. That makes a big difference, I think, for the listener.
It's Chronic Fatigue Syndrome Awareness Month.
I think one of my takeaways is that long COVID is not going away.
And today's briefing is an important step to shining a light on this condition.
There could be millions of long haulers with chronic symptoms. Our health system is facing an avalanche of long COVID patients.
I'm really proud to be here to announce this forthcoming COVID-19 Long Haulers Act.
Realize that your words have power, and your story, your specific story, is important. There's a quote that I love. When something is very personal, it becomes very universal. That's it right there. The more personal you share, the more details you give about your own story, and the more you connect it to you and who you are and how it affects your life, the more it has the power to affect people.
I hope to never forget how important the individual person-to-person contact and interactions are.
Because at the end of the day, advocacy is just about connecting one person to another. Focus on that connection and you'll never go wrong.
The first time that I realized that my advocacy was making an impact, I made a comedy video, just me in my room, acting out two characters. It was a doctor and a patient.
Yes, I have CFS. I've had it for about, of course, chronic, yes, that's what I was saying. Fatigue syndrome, yeah, I knew it.
And it got about 23,000 views, and I was astonished. I couldn't believe that many people were actually interested in hearing about this experience and learning about it, and sort of relating to it through comedy.
If I had any advice to a new advocate, it would be anytime you have the opportunity to tell your story, it matters.
Tell the ugly parts. Tell the parts that are difficult. Be specific about what has been ripped away from you, where you were going before, and where you're going now if nobody does anything to help you.
Yeah, I think if there's any advice that I have, it's to be as creative and to be as uniquely you as possible.
I know I've been helped, and I hope that I've helped others along the way, and I hope I continue to help others.
If you access hearts and minds individually, overall, that will eventually change the culture forever.
All of that combined advocacy is the thing that is making the wheels start to turn, and I think we can all feel the wheels starting to turn. So don't give up. Keep pushing, because your effort is what's making that wheel turn, and that is what is going to make things different and better for all of us, hopefully sooner than later, but at some point.